need to install a FastMCP server in Cursor while keeping dependencies, Python versions, and environment variables perfectly isolated from your main system. We'll use the FastMCP install Cursor command to handle everything in one step, auto-detecting your server object, case-sensitive, defaulting to MCP, server, or app if unspecified, installing dependencies via with requirements or with editable, and optionally pinning the Python version with Python. You'll also see how workspace scopes the installation to a project's Cursor folder for local isolation, while env or envfile explicitly passes environment variables, since Cursor's isolated environment has no access to your shell. The command even generates the MCP JSON config automatically, opens Cursor with a direct install prompt, and lets you verify success via exit code, all while keeping your system clean.
Hash install to current directories, Cursor folder. FastMCP install Cursor server, Pi workspace. Hash install to specific workspace. FastMCP install Cursor server, Pi workspace path to project.
This demonstrates the scoped server deployment pattern for AI development environments, providing controlled installation of FastMCP servers into Cursor through a single CLI command. The concept enables both global and project-specific server configurations, with the workspace flag directing installation to either the current directories, Cursor, folder, or a specified path. The distinctive feature is its explicit environment management system that handles Python version pinning, dependency resolution, and environment variable declaration, while maintaining complete isolation from the host system. The pattern operates through a declarative installation workflow that automatically generates MCP JSON configuration and opens Cursor with a direct install prompt. Server objects are auto-detected as case-sensitive names, MCP, server, or app when unspecified via file, Pi object notation, while dependencies can be specified through multiple, with flags, requirement files via with requirements, or local packages via with editable. Environment variables must be explicitly declared through env or loaded from files with envfile, as Cursor runs servers in a completely isolated environment with no access to shell variables. The command returns success status and requires UV to be installed for dependency management. This approach solves critical challenges in reproducible AI tooling by enforcing explicit configuration while maintaining simplicity. It's particularly valuable when projects require different Python versions, isolated dependency sets, or specific environment variables that must not leak between contexts. The trade-off is the requirement for explicit environment variable declaration, but this prevents accidental dependencies on host environments while providing a straightforward installation process that handles both global and project-specific server configurations through a single command. Let's break it down line by line.
Hash install to current directories, Cursor folder. FastMCP install Cursor server, Pi workspace.
Installs a FastMCP server into Cursor's isolated environment with explicit workspace scoping. The workspace parameter targets your current directories, Cursor folder for installation, while omitting project defaults to the same location for execution context. Both are optional. Server object detection follows case-sensitive naming, automatically selecting MCP, server, or app objects when no explicit object is specified in file, Pi object notation. Environment variables require explicit declaration via env, envfile, or FastMCP. JSON Cursor lacks shell access for implicit inheritance. The Python flag pins runtime versions, and UV must be pre-installed in your system path for dependency resolution. The command triggers first-class Cursor integration, automatically opening an install prompt, and generates MCP JSON configuration. Dependency control uses with requirements or with editable flags, which can be specified multiple times. Success status returns via exit code for CLI or Boolean for Python API, with server name optionally overriding the default file name-based naming.
Hash install to specific workspace. FastMCP install cursor server. High workspace path to project.
This installs a FastMCP server into Cursor's isolated environment, requiring UV in your system path. The workspace flag explicitly sets the installation directory to Cursor within the specified path, ensuring environment isolation. Server objects auto-detect as MCP, server, or app, case-sensitive when no explicit file, PY object is given. Environment variables must be declared via env or nfile since Cursor lacks shell access, and Python versions are pinned with Python for compatibility. The command integrates directly with Cursor, auto-generating MCP JSON and triggering the install prompt, while dependencies resolve via with requirements or with editable flags. Cursor installation pattern. The FastMCP install Cursor command bridges local Python servers with Cursor's isolated execution environment, where all dependencies and environment variables must be explicitly declared since no shell context is inherited. The command automatically opens Cursor with an install prompt for first-class integration, using UV as the underlying package manager, which must be installed globally and available in your system path. Server object detection follows case-sensitive naming conventions, defaulting to MCP, server, or app only when no explicit object suffix is provided, while the optional server name parameter defaults to the file name if unspecified. Both workspace and project are independent optional parameters, with workspace controlling installation location and project setting the execution context when needed.
The server that must declare everything becomes the most portable.